Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to take those big, complex topics, sift through all the research, the data, and really just pull out the essentials you need.
That's the goal. Make sense of the noise.
Exactly. And today, we're focusing our lens on a country that keeps popping up more and more, Slovenia. You hear it called Europe's emerald gem, maybe its best-kept secret.
Right, it definitely has that reputation. And maybe you've seen that photo of Lake Bled, you know the one, with the island and the church.
Yeah, impossible to miss.
And you wonder, okay, is the rest of the country actually like that? Does it live up to the hype?
Yeah.
So we've really dug into a pile of sources, travel guides, reports on logistics, lots of first-hand accounts.
And our mission here is pretty clear. We want to figure out if Slovenia is truly worth prioritizing for your next big European trip, especially when, let's be honest, it's easy to just default to, say, Italy or France.
Precisely. Is there enough unique value packed into this small country? We're thinking particularly about you if you're, an active traveler, someone who loves nature, maybe craves some adventure.
Or even if you're looking for that romantic European vibe, but maybe with fewer crowds. Does Slovenia deliver enough for a full trip, maybe 2 weeks? Or is it more of a quick few days kind of stop?
Well, to get Slovenia, you really have to grasp its geography first. It sits right in what people call the green heart of Europe. It's small, yeah, but it's in this geopolitical sweet spot.
Bordering Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Croatia.
Exactly. And that's not just map trivia. It shapes everything. The weather, the history, and definitely the food, which we'll get into. It's a real crossroads.
It really sounds like it. You get that sense of Austrian efficiency, maybe some Italian flair near the border, that hearty Balkan influence from the south.
For sure. It bars a bit from all its powerful neighbors, culturally speaking. But what all the sources emphasize is that it still feels distinctly Slovenian. There's this unique soul, tied to its Slavic roots and this really deep connection people have with the outdoors, especially the mountains.
And the landscape itself, it's just packed with contrasts, isn't it? That's what gives it that density we look for.
Absolutely. You've got the Julian Alps in the north, proper jagged peaks. Then you drive, 2 hours south?
Yeah, something like that.
And boom, you hit this small but really lovely stretch of Mediterranean coast. Little towns that feel almost Venetian.
And everything in between. These huge cave systems, the karst region, like a whole other world underground.
Right, and those rivers, the Socha River especially, that unreal emerald color cutting through gorges, plus castles dotted around, and the capital, Ljubljana, which is really compact and charming.
So that brings us back to the big question for you, the listener planning a trip.
Yeah.
You've got limited time, limited budget. Does this tiny country, what is it, about the size of New Jersey or Wales?
Roughly, yeah. Massachusetts is another comparison often used.
Okay, does it offer enough unique stuff, enough density to earn its own dedicated trip?
And the sources we looked at, they come back with a pretty strong yes. It's not just competing with the big guys, it offers something different, a specific kind of experience.
All right, let's break down how it delivers, starting with the practical stuff getting there. The logistics.
That's okay.
Logistics. Whenever you hear hidden gem, sometimes my first thought is, uh-oh, is it hidden because it's a total pain to get to? What's the deal with Slovenia?
That's a very valid concern. The main airport is Ljubljana's Jožef Pušnik Airport code LJU. And here's the interesting thing the sources highlight. Its size is actually a plus.
How so?
It's described as refreshingly small, efficient. Think the opposite of huge, sprawling hubs like Frankfurt or Heathrow.
I saw one report someone timed it, they were off the plane and pulling out of the rental car lot in under 20 minutes.
Exactly. That's the kind of experience people report. It just takes the stress out of arrival. You start your holiday feeling relaxed, not like you've just run a marathon through a terminal.
Okay, but the flip side, does a smaller airport mean fewer flight options, maybe higher prices?
That can be the case, yes. LJU doesn't have the same volume of international flights as, say, Venice or Vienna, and that leads us to a really key strategy the sources mention, what we're calling the flexibility advantage.
Using those nearby countries.
Precisely. Remember that central location. Because the borders, especially within the Schengen area, are so easy to cross, you can look at flying into major airports nearby.
Like Venice or Trieste in Italy.
Yep, or Zagreb in Croatia, or even Graz or Vienna in Austria. Suddenly you've opened up way more options for potentially cheaper long-haul flights or better schedules.
But that means a drive across the border. Is that a hassle? Long queues? Paperwork?
Generally, no. Within Schengen, Italy, Austria, it's usually seamless, barely a pause. Coming from Croatia, which is EU but not Schengen, might add, maybe 10 or 15 minutes sometimes, but it's typically very smooth.
Okay. And how far are we talking driving from those airports?
The sources say you're looking at maybe 1 to 2 hours driving from Venice or Zagreb to be well inside Slovenia. It's totally doable and often a very smart logistical move.
All right, so we've landed maybe in Ljubljana, maybe driven in from Venice. Next big question, especially for the kind of active trip we're talking about. Do you really need a car?
Okay, the consensus here is pretty overwhelming. Yes. A rental car is described again and again as basically non-negotiable if you want to see the real Slovenia. The mountains, the valleys, the little villages.
I mean, couldn't you manage with buses or trains, especially if you just wanted to hit Ljubljana and Lake Bled? Lots of Europe is great for public transport.
You could do just that loop, yes.
Yeah.
But you'd honestly be missing like 80% of what makes Slovenia special for the kind of traveler we're focused on.
The adventure stuff.
Exactly. Want to go rafting in the Socha Valley, find the best trailheads near Lake Bohinj, stay at one of those amazing tourist farms we'll talk about. Public transport just doesn't reach those places effectively.
Right. You need the freedom to stop at that viewpoint, drive that mountain path.
You absolutely do. The car is the key that unlocks the country's best bits.
Okay, sold on the car. Now, driving there, we have to talk about the toll system. This seems crucial. The vignette.
Yes, the vignette, vignette. You cannot ignore this. It's basically a sticker for your windshield, though it's becoming more digital too, that you must have to drive on any of the main highways or expressways. It's not paper toll booth. It's a permit to use the fast roads.
Where do you get it if you rent the car in Slovenia?
The rental company should sort it out, but definitely double-check the paperwork to be sure. If you're driving in from, say, Italy or Austria,
Then what?
you buy it immediately, like the very first gas station you see after crossing the border. Look for petrol or OMV stations, are usually right there. Don't drive on the highway without it.
And the cost. Is it expensive?
For a typical tourist trip, not really. The sources mention around 15 euros for a 7-day vignette, a small price to pay.
Because the fines, if you don't have it, are massive.
Right. Seriously steep. We're talking hundreds of euros. They have cameras and patrols enforcing it. Since the highways are excellent and you'll definitely want to use them, just get the sticker, buy it, stick it on, job done.
And the roads themselves, apart from the vignette. Good quality.
Fantastic, apparently. Everyone praises them. Well-maintained, really well signposted, even in rural areas, and generally low traffic outside the capital. Sources say they're actually a joy to drive on.
It sounds like part of that effortless adventure idea again. Good infrastructure, making the wild parts accessible.
Exactly. It really underpins the whole experience.
Okay, we've navigated the airport, got our car, stuck the vignette on the windshield. Now, where do we actually stay? Slovenia seems to offer a real mix, matching its landscape.
It really does. You can go from chic city apartments to rustic farm stays. Let's start at the capital, Ljubljana. It's all about that lovely pedestrian old town and the river, the Ljubljana.
So the advice is stay close to that.
Yeah, the consensus is staying right near, or ideally in, the pedestrian zone maximizes the experience. You want to be able to just step out your door and stroll along the river, grab coffee, soak up the atmosphere without needing a taxi or a long walk.
Boutique hotels right on the river sound ideal, but probably pricey.
They definitely command a premium, especially in summer. So the practical alternative that comes up a lot is looking at Airbnbs or apartments, maybe a 10-15-minute walk from the absolute center, like the Triple Bridge.
What's the advantage there?
Usually more space for your money, maybe a kitchen or balcony. Plus, you get a feel for a real residential neighborhood, not just the tourist hub. And Ljubljana is so compact and safe that 10-15-minute walk feels like nothing. Even late at night, it's easy.
Okay, moving out of the city, the big one. Lake Bled. That postcard view.
Ah, yes, Bled. If you're dreaming of waking up to that view, the island, the castle, the whole fairy tale scene, the sources say, look, if your budget can stretch to it, a hotel right on the lake with a direct view is described as, well, magical.
Worth a splurge for that specific experience.
For many, yes. It's iconic for a reason. But Bled is also tourist central. It gets crowded and prices reflect that popularity.
Which leads to the counter proposal.
Right.
Something more authentic.
Exactly. And this really speaks to the nature lover, the tourist farms. In Slovenian, Turistična kmetija.
Okay, tell us more. What exactly are these?
Their actual working farms could be dairy, livestock, orchards that have set aside some rooms, or maybe a separate building for guests. They're usually located in the hills just outside the main tourist spots.
So not right on Lake Bled, but nearby.
Typically, yeah. Maybe a 15 or 20-minute drive away, far enough to escape the bustle, close enough for easy access.
And the benefits. Authenticity.
Big time. You get a real local experience interacting with the family running the farm. Often incredible home-cooked meals. Breakfast is usually included. Dinner often available using produce from the farm itself. Think fresh cheeses, cured meats, homemade bread, jams.
Sounds amazing. And the cost compared to a bled hotel.
Often significantly less, sometimes half the price, according to reports. So it's high value, authentic, and gives you a totally different perspective on Slovenian life. Highly recommended, especially for families or longer stays.
All right. Now let's pivot to the adventure hub, the Socha Valley. Towns like Bovec, Kobarid. What's the vibe there?
Accommodation there is geared towards function and activity. It's less about luxury views, more about a comfortable base camp after a day of rafting or hiking.
So practical places.
Yeah, think cozy guest houses run by locals who know the area, apartments often with extra space for storing gear bikes, kayaks, whatever. You might even find places with hoses outside specifically for washing muddy boots.
Uh-huh. Sounds about right. Unpretentious but functional.
Exactly. And there are also loads of really high-quality campsites in the Socha Valley, often right by the river. It's very geared towards the outdoor enthusiast.
Okay, the last area of the coast. That little sliver of Mediterranean. Pirin seems like the star.
Pirin is stunning. That mini Venice comparison is apt. Narrow streets, Venetian architecture, all tucked inside medieval walls. It's incredibly charming, but it gets packed, especially in summer, and it can be expensive because it's so picturesque and relatively small.
So, alternatives if Pirin feels too intense or pricey.
You've got a couple of main options nearby. Portorož is one. It's much more of a modern resort town. Larger hotels, casinos, spas, swimming pools. Less historic charm, more amenities and relaxation focus.
And the other option?
Izola. This is often described as a quieter, more authentic fishing town. It still has charm, but feels more lived in, less purely about tourism than Piran. You get a good coastal feel without the same level of crowds. Probably better if you want a more low-key base.
All right, we found our base camp. Now let's talk fuel. Slovenian food, what's the story? It sounds like it would be a real mix given the location.
It absolutely is. The sources describe it as this wonderful, hearty blend. That word hearty comes up a lot. It definitely draws from its neighbors.
So you see Italian influences. Pasta, risotto.
Definitely, especially closer to the Italian border and the coast.
Yeah.
Then from the north, you get the Austrian impact. Think schnitzels, sausages, certain types of pastries and cakes.
And from the south and east.
Balkan influences are strong too. Hearty stews like goulash, lots of grilled meats, cevachichi, tiskavica, that kind of satisfying, flavorful cooking.
But it's not just borrowing, right? There's a Slovenian identity.
Oh, for sure.
Mm.
And a huge part of that is the focus on ingredients. Fresh, local, seasonal. That's a recurring theme. If you go in autumn, for example, you'll find mushrooms everywhere, forage from the forests. Lots of pumpkin and squash dishes, too. It's very tied to the land and the season.
Speaking of local stars, we have to discuss this pumpkin seed oil. It sounds intriguing.
It's more than intriguing. It's practically a national treasure, especially from the Atajerska Styria region.
Yeah.
It's this dark green, really nutty, intensely flavored oil.
And they use it on everything.
Well, not everything, but in ways you might not expect. Definitely on salads, drizzled over soups for richness. But the one that catches everyone's attention is putting it on vanilla ice cream.
Okay, yeah. That sounds wild. Oil on ice cream.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Apparently, yes. The sources are unanimous. They say the nutty, slightly savory, maybe a little bitter flavor of the oil contrasts beautifully with the sweet, creamy vanilla. It sounds weird, but it's described as surprisingly delicious. You just have to try it.
All right, noted. Mandatory taste test. What about other classics? The absolute must-eats.
Top of the list, especially if you're near Lake Bled, has to be the Bled cream cake, the kremenita.
The famous one. It looks incredible in photos.
It is, and it's very specific. A perfect cube. You've got a layer of crispy puff pastry on the bottom, then this thick layer of delicate vanilla custard, then a layer of whipped cream not too sweet, and then another layer of puff pastry on top, dusted with powdered sugar.
Sounds light, but also substantial.
It's surprisingly light, actually. The custard is airy. It's just the perfect treat after doing the Bled thing, the boat ride, climbing the steps to the church. It feels like a reward.
Okay, cream cake down. What about something more savory, more like comfort food?
Then you need to look for idriski zhelikrofi. These are special dumplings originating from the mining town of Idrija. They even have protected geographical status.
Like champagne or Parma ham?
Exactly. It means they have to be made a certain way. They're these little pasta pockets, uniquely shaped, kind of like Napoleon's hat, apparently.
And filled with.
Traditionally, a mix of potato, onion, herbs, maybe some smoked bacon fat or crackling for flavor, really hearty. They were food for the miners, designed to be filling.
And how are they usually served?
Often with a rich meat sauce, sometimes a lamb or rabbit ragu called makalka, or even just melted butter and cheese. Proper comfort food, delicious.
Sounds perfect after a big hike.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, sausages.
Ah, yes. If you've been hiking in the Alps, you need the Krenschka klobasa, the carniolan sausage, and this is another protected product, very important culturally.
So, specific ingredients again.
Yes, high-quality pork, other bacon, specific spices like garlic, pepper, and it has to be smoked traditionally over beechwood.
What's the flavor like?
Smoky, definitely garlicky, really robust. It's typically served quite simply, maybe boiled or lightly grilled, often alongside sauerkraut, kislozelje, and mustard. It's the classic alpine refueling meal. Simple, satisfying, perfect post-hike food.
Okay, beyond the classics, the sources mention wine. Slovenia has a wine scene.
And it's seriously underrated. People often overlook it, thinking only of Italy or France nearby. But Slovenia produces some excellent wines, especially whites.
Which regions should we look out for?
The Goriška Bruda region, right on the border with Italy's Friuli region, gets a lot of praise. They call it the Tuscany of Slovenia. Similar rolling hills, same kind of climate.
And what kind of grapes? You mentioned whites are strong.
Yes, look for Rebula, that's indigenous, makes really crisp, aromatic, food-friendly wines. Also Sauvignonas, sometimes called Friulano, which is related to Sauvignon Blanc, but a bit richer. Malvasia near the coast, too.
And the price point compared to, say, French or Italian wines.
That's the kicker. The quality is often very high, but the prices are generally much more reasonable. You can find really fantastic Slovenian wines for significantly less than comparable bottles from its more famous neighbors. Great value.
Nice. And one last food thing, back in Ljubljana, this open kitchen event.
Oh yeah, Odprta. If you happen to be in Ljubljana on a Friday between spring and autumn, you have to check this out.
What is it exactly? A market?
It's like a giant outdoor food court, but way better. It takes over one of the main squares, Pogačar Terrace. Dozens and dozens of stalls are set up by restaurants from all over Slovenia, from fancy chefs to traditional inns to street food vendors.
So you can sample lots of different things.
Exactly. They sell smaller portions, sample sizes, so you can wander around, try some zilakrofi from one place, maybe some grilled seafood from another, grab a glass of local wine. The atmosphere is amazing, really buzzing and social. It's like the entire Slovenian food scene condensed into one square for an afternoon. A fantastic experience.
All right, time for the main event, the activities. This really feels like where Slovenia shines, packing so much adventure and scenery into a small area.
It absolutely is. Let's start back in Ljubljana. Remember, it's a walking city, very manageable.
Key sites. The Triple Bridge is a must, right? Designed by Plečnik.
Definitely. Judristic's fingerprints are all over the city center. From the Triple Bridge, your eye naturally goes up the hill to Ljubljana Castle.
Walk up or take the funicular?
You can walk. It's a pleasant path through the trees. But the funicular is quick, easy, and gives you a nice little ride up. Worth it for the convenience.
And the view from the castle.
Essential. Especially on a clear day, that's when you get the payoff, the panorama over the city's red roofs, and then stretching out to the Julian Alps in the distance. It really connects the city to the mountains visually.
And gotta get a photo of the Dragon Bridge too, right?
It's pretty much obligatory. Those 4 bronze dragons are the city's icon. Then, for a different angle on the city, the sources really recommend a boat tour on the Ljubljana River.
Why is that so good?
Because the city is built right up along the riverbanks with all those lovely bridges and willow trees dipping into the water, seeing Plečnik's architecture, the market colonnades, the bridges from water level, it just gives you a totally different, very relaxed perspective.
Okay, and for something a bit edgier, Metalkova Mesto.
Ah, yes, Metalkova. It's fascinating. It's this autonomous social and cultural center that grew out of former military barracks that were squatted back in the 90s.
So it's covered in street art.
Totally. It's an explosion of color murals, sculptures made from scrap, intricate mosaics. During the day, it's like walking through this constantly evolving outdoor art gallery. Very unique.
Had at night.
It comes alive with alternative bars, clubs, live music venues. It's the heart of Ljubljana's counterculture scene. Definitely worth wandering through day or night for a different vibe.
Cool. Okay, let's head out to the lakes. The big comparison. Bled versus Bohinj.
Right. Lake Bled is the superstar, the icon. The classic experience there is taking a Pletna boat out to the island.
Those traditional wooden boats.
Exactly. Rowed by oarsmen whose families have often been doing it for generations. It's a really special tradition. You get rowed out, land on the island, climb the 99 steps up to the church, and
Ring the wishing bell.
you got it. It's incredibly romantic, very picturesque. The whole scene is just lovely. Now, visiting Bled Castle up on the cliff is fine. The museum is interesting.
But the best photo isn't from the castle itself.
Correct. The sources strongly recommend skipping the castle view for the photo and instead finding the Ojestrica viewpoint. It's a short, maybe 15-20 minute, pretty steep hike up a trail on the side of the lake.
And that gives you the shot.
Yeah, it gives you the money shot. The high-angle view, looking down on the lake, the island perfectly placed, the castle on its cliff, mountains behind. It's the postcard view. Worth the little bit of effort.
Okay, so Bled is beautiful, iconic, maybe a bit touristy. What about Lake Bohinj?
Bohinj is the wilder sibling. It's only about a 30-minute drive from Bled, but it feels worlds away. Crucially, it's located inside Triglav National Park.
Which means
Development is strictly controlled. The lake is much larger than Bled. The water is incredibly clear, and the scenery is just more raw, more rugged, more serene. Far fewer buildings, far fewer crowds.
So what do you do at Bohinj?
It's all about nature. Hiking is huge. You can hike around the entire lake, which takes several hours, or do sections. Visit Savica Waterfall. That's the waterfall that feeds the lake, though its flow depends on recent rain. Swimming, kayaking, paddleboarding in summer.
And that cable car. The Vogel cable car.
Yes, that's a must-do at Bohinj. It takes you way up the mountainside, high above the lake. The panoramic views from the top are just mind-blowing. You see the whole expanse of the lake nestled among the Julian Alps. It really gives you a sense of the scale of the national park.
And from the top, you can hike more.
Definitely. There are easier scenic walks up there, great for families. But it's also the starting point for much more serious alpine hikes, including trails that eventually lead towards Mount Triglav, Slovenia's highest peak. You could easily spend a whole day exploring from the top of the Vogel cable car. It's fantastic for hikers.
Okay, from the lakes and mountains, let's follow the water down to the Socha Valley, the adventure capital, that river color.
Isn't it incredible? That emerald turquoise color is just unreal. It comes from the limestone bedrock, the karst geology. The water is super clear, but also super cold, glacial melt, basically, and fast-flowing.
Perfect.
Adventure sports. Whitewater rafting is the classic activity here, with lots of great outfitters based in Bovec and Kobarid, kayaking too, but also canyoning, where you rappel down waterfalls, slide down natural rock chutes, jump into pools.
Sounds intense.
They can do, but they have trips for various levels. Plus, there's zip lining across the valley, mountain biking, paragliding. It's an adrenaline junkie's playground.
But there's also serious history here, right? World War I.
Yes, absolutely. The Socha Valley, known as the Isonzo Front in WWI, was the site of incredibly brutal fighting between Italy and Austria-Hungary. The Kobarid Museum is dedicated to this history, and the sources say it's one of the most moving, powerful war museums anywhere.
So it provides important context to the beautiful scenery.
Definitely. Understanding the intense battles that happened right there adds a whole layer of meaning to the landscape. It's a stark contrast.
And getting between these valleys, there's that famous mountain pass.
The Veruche Pass, yes. If you're driving between the Socha Valley area, like Trenta and Kranjska Gora near the Austrian border, you'll likely drive over it. It's an adventure in itself.
How so?
It's got 50 numbered hairpin turns climbing up and then down the other side. The scenery is spectacular, but you need to take it slow, especially with cyclists often on the road. It was actually built by Russian POWs during WWI, which adds another layer of history. A truly epic drive.
Wow. Okay, one more major natural feature. The caves. Postonia versus Ikukshin.
Yeah, the two biggies in the karst region. Postojn Cave is the more famous one, the bigger tourist draw. It's known for the electric train that takes you deep inside, about 2 kilometers in, before you even start walking.
Sounds convenient. And it has those human fish.
Yes, the Proteus salamanders, these unique blind creatures that live in the cave waters. Postojna, very well organized, very impressive in scale, maybe a bit more theme park-like in its presentation, some sources suggest.
So what's the case for Ikukshin Caves?
Ikukshin is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the descriptions lean towards it being more awe-inspiring, more raw, less developed for mass tourism.
How is it different?
The experience involves walking along paths carved into the side of one of the world's largest underground river canyons. You're often hundreds of feet above the roaring Reka River echoing below you.
Sounds dramatic.
Extremely. Sources describe it as feeling like you've stepped into Lord of the Rings or some vast underground cathedral carved by nature. It's meant to be a more powerful, visceral experience.
But maybe more physically demanding.
Definitely. It involves a lot more walking, including stairs and potentially slippy paths. So if mobility is a concern, Postojna with its train is the easier option. But if you want sheer natural grandeur and a bit more of a hike, Kakjan seems to be the preferred choice for many.
Okay, Slovenia clearly has so much packed in, which is great, but also means if you're on a shorter trip, say just a week, you probably can't do it all. You need to prioritize, maybe even skip some things.
Exactly. Trying to cram everything in leads to rushing and missing the vibe. So strategic skipping is key for efficiency and enjoyment. First up, reconsider how much time you spend at Lake Bled.
Don't spend the whole week there, even though it's the famous spot.
Right. It's beautiful, yes, but it's also the most concentrated tourist spot. The advice is go, experience it, take the boat, climb the steps, eat the cream cake, get that Ojestrica viewpoint photo. Make it a focused half day or maybe one overnight.
And then
Then shift your focus in your base, perhaps. Move on to Lake Bohinj and Triglav National Park for a deeper, less crowded nature experience. Or head to the Socha Valley. Use Bled as a stunning highlight, not your entire trip's anchor.
makes sense. What else could potentially be skipped on a tight schedule?
For a typical one-week trip, especially if you're flying into the west, Ljubljana or Venice Trieste, the sources often suggest skipping the far eastern part of the country.
So places like Maribor, the Second City, and the eastern wine regions.
Yeah. While those areas are lovely rolling hills, vineyards, pleasant towns, they don't necessarily offer the same unique, high-impact wow factor as the western part. The Alps, the Emerald River, the dramatic caves, the capital, the coast, that's where Slovenia's most distinct attractions lie.
So focusing west maximizes the uniqueness.
Exactly. It minimizes driving time and ensures you hit the absolute must-sees that you can't really find elsewhere in the same combination. If you have 2 weeks or more, then exploring the east makes more sense. But for 1 week, concentrate west.
Okay. And the caves, you mentioned the choice.
Yes, cave consolidation. This is a strong recommendation. Pick one cave system to visit, either Postojna or Kakjan. Don't try to do both on a short trip.
Why not?
Honestly, you risk cave fatigue. They are both impressive underground worlds, but visiting 2 massive cave systems in quick succession can feel a bit repetitive, and it eats up significant time and money.
So choose based on preference. Postoja for ease and the train. Kakjan for raw scale and hiking.
Precisely. Make a choice based on your interest in mobility. Commit to that one and fully appreciate it. You'll still get an amazing karst experience without overloading your itinerary.
We've covered the itinerary, the food, the logistics, but what about the feeling of the place, the overall vibe? What do you actually feel when you're there?
That's a great question. The words that come up consistently in reports are green, lush, clean, and orderly. It really strikes people how incredibly verdant everything is and how well-maintained and tidy it feels, even in rural areas.
Clean and orderly, but also wild nature.
That's the fascinating balance. You have this truly wild, untamed nature. The Alps feel genuinely rugged. The river's powerful, but it's combined with the superb infrastructure. The roads are great. Signs are clear. Services work efficiently.
So it makes adventure feel easy.
That's the phrase the sources often land on. Effortless adventure. You can do quite challenging things, hike demanding trails, go canyoning, but it feels safe and accessible because the support systems, the outfitters, the trails themselves are generally very well managed. It removes a lot of the logistical friction you might find elsewhere.
And that famous compactness plays into this.
Hugely. Slovenia's small size is its superpower. It allows for this incredible variety without spending days in transit, the classic example people give.
Hike in the morning, swim in the afternoon.
Exactly. You can genuinely be high up on an alpine trail in Triglav National Park in the morning, experience that crisp mountain air, and then drive a couple of hours and be sitting by the Adriatic coast, enjoying seafood and a glass of wine by late afternoon.
That transition is pretty unique in Europe, isn't it? To go from proper Alps to the Med so quickly.
It really is. That ability to switch landscapes and experiences so efficiently is a defining characteristic of a trip here. It maximizes doing.
What about the people? What's the interaction like?
Slovenians are often described as maybe a bit reserved initially, not as overtly outgoing as, say, Italians right off the bat, but the consistent feedback is that they are incredibly kind. Very helpful once you engage, and immensely proud of their country, especially its natural beauty.
And that connection to the outdoors is real.
Oh, absolutely. It's deep in the national identity. Hiking, skiing, climbing, just being out in nature. It's not just a hobby, it's a way of life for many. You'll find almost everyone has a favorite mountain trail or is planning their next weekend hike.
And language.
Oh.
Is English widely spoken?
Yes, generally very widely, especially among younger people and anyone working in tourism or service industries. You'll rarely struggle to communicate in English in the main areas, which again adds to that feeling of ease for travelers.
To summing up the vibe, it's about accessible nature and activity.
I think effortless adventure captures it best. It's a place for people who want to do things, actively explore, engage with the landscape, but want to do it with a level of comfort, safety, and efficiency. It's active, but smooth. Hashtag, stay Vimero. Conclusion and final thought.
Okay, so we started this asking, is Slovenia worth prioritizing over the traditional European giants? After digging through all this, what's the final verdict?
Based on everything we've seen, the verdict is a resounding, definite yes. Especially, and this is the key qualifier, for the active traveler.
The nature lover, the adventure seeker.
Exactly. For that person, Slovenia is pretty close to paradise. It seems to combine the best bits of its neighbors, often without their downsides. You get truly epic mountain scenery, think Switzerland or Austria, but generally at a much more accessible price point.
Plus that Austrian efficiency and charm, and a bit of Italian and Balkan flair in the food and on the coast.
Precisely. It's compact, it's incredibly varied, the infrastructure makes it easy to navigate, and the sheer density of high-quality experiences is remarkable for its size.
Yeah.
It really lives up to that gem reputation because the natural beauty is matched by the organization.
But there is a caveat, right?
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
We definitely need to stress that based on the sources. If your main reason for travel is spending days in huge world-class art museums, well, Ljubljana's museums are nice, but they're not the Louvre or the Uffizi.
Or if you're looking for high-fashion shopping streets, or a really massive, intense nightlife scene.
Right. It's not Milan or Berlin in that sense. Ljubljana has a lovely evening atmosphere, great bars and restaurants, but it's more charming and relaxed than pulsating. So, if those are your absolute top priorities, Slovenia might not be the perfect fit.
But if you're after stunning nature, endless outdoor activities, fantastic local food and wine, hello cremita and pumpkin seed oil,
Yeah.
and that feeling of safe, easy, varied exploration.
Then yes, you should seriously consider bumping Slovenia up your list, maybe even ahead of some of the more obvious choices, especially if you want to avoid the biggest crowds.
Okay, so a final thought for our listeners to chew on, something that sums it all up.
I think it comes back to that unique blend of infrastructure and wilderness. Slovenia's ability to have these pristine national parks, these wild rivers, these challenging mountains, right alongside excellent roads, clean facilities, and high safety standards, it's quite something.
That seamlessness we talked about, mountain to sea in a day.
Exactly. That efficiency, driven by its compact scale and maybe a cultural focus on functional quality, it makes you wonder.
Wonder what?
Well, does Slovenia's model this intense focus on balancing modern European convenience and infrastructure with pure, accessible, highly varied, natural adventure? Does it offer a kind of template? Maybe the ultimate template for sustainable, active tourism that doesn't sacrifice experience for accessibility or vice versa.
Is this the blueprint for how to do active travel right in the 21st century?
It's something to think about, isn't it, as you're mentally booking that rental car and planning your drive over the Vrch Pass?
A provocative thought indeed. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into Europe's Emerald Gem. We genuinely hope this gives you the insight you need to perhaps pack those hiking boots and plan an adventure you maybe hadn't considered before.
Absolutely. Until next time, travel well.